What would you do if RuneScape 3 only had 3 bosses? What would you do if your account was locked to only being able to do 3 bosses and you had to pick which 3 bosses you would do? Which 3 bosses would you choose to be the only ones in the game and why? This is a question that I've been curious about for the last couple of days. I don't know why. You guys will just have to accept that my mind does stupid things sometimes, but it has been on my mind and I've been sort of theory crafting around why I would pick certain bosses, and I thought this could make a pretty interesting video. So I'm going to ask you the question to begin with, and you can let me know in the comments at the end of the video, and then I'll talk about what 3 bosses I would pick after I've been thinking about it for the last few days, and I'll talk about why for each individual one and why I would pick those in my opinion. Hopefully you guys find this idea interesting. If you do, then do leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and also make sure you do comment down below the 3 bosses and why you would pick those 3. My reasoning is probably going to be quite long. You will only have a comment to use, so you can just keep it as short as you want or as long as you want. I will still read them. Anyway, let's get into this video. Okay, so do keep in mind this is my opinion, so you guys don't have to go crazy when you don't agree. So let me know in the comments what you would choose and why. But we're going to start this off by just telling you all 3 straight away, which is basically going to be QBD, Araxor, and the Calphite Queen. Now, that's obviously not true, and I'm just winding you guys up, but we are going to start off with just one of them, which is going to be probably my favorite boss at the moment, being Karapak Hard Mode. Now, I specifically mean Hard Mode because if you can only pick one, then I guess you wouldn't be able to have the normal mode as well, as that does give you 2 different encounters, so we will just stick with specifically Hard Mode. However, Karapak is by far probably my favorite boss at the moment, and the reason being is I do feel like Karapak has very unique mechanics in the way that all the mechanics that he has, I can't think of anything in the game that is quite similar. The only thing that is slightly similar is probably the uppercut from Telos, matching the same thing as his dive, timing the surge, but even then, the actual mechanic itself is much different, as if he does land on you, he will stay there, do damage over time, and he will also take less damage, so it is very different overall. That being said, my absolute favorite part of Karapak has to be the final phase. It seems to be incredibly well thought out, and it also challenges a lot of players, including myself, to actually have to think in depth about what you're doing each and every time. You cannot snooze in this point. If you are, like, even in Crypt Bloom armor, if you are not paying attention, you will absolutely die, and you have to pay attention. And this is really important to me in a boss fight, because if you're not paying attention and it gets like a little bit brain dead, it does make it feel a bit boring, and it does end up being very repetitive. No one's mentioning names like the Arc Glacier or anything like that, but certain bosses in this game can get to the point where they are incredibly repetitive, and it just kind of just gets a little bit like brain dead and just incredibly boring and makes you fed up really quick. However, with Karapak, I always feel like as soon as I hit phase 4, I have to wake the hell up and be like, right, we have to do this properly. 1 mistake can make you eat 3 more pieces of food. 2 mistakes can mean you don't get the kill, or like it's huge. You have to pay attention, and that is really important to me in a boss fight. I like knowing that I have to use my defensive abilities. Even with the tank armor and animate dead on, you still have to use them, otherwise you're going to take way too much damage. And yeah, you could take a yak probably and just eat through the whole thing. However, that would slow down your kill a hell of a lot, and I'm not all for about 10-minute kills. I also love the way the loot system works in Karapak as well. It is, by the look of it, designed to be a trio boss, seeing as there are 3 loot piles. There is 3 clones in the last phase, and there is also specific mechanic designs for the clones throughout the phase 1 to 3 that deal with 3 people as well. So I believe it is a trio boss designed to begin with, and then it can be soloed. But the fact that this boss doesn't feel like an absolute train wreck once you bring 3 people in total, it still feels like you kind of have to pay attention on the last phase, especially. Like you can boost through phase 1 to 3, but if you get to the last phase, you still have to use defensives at some point. It does make it much easier, but you still can't just be like, it's fine, we'll just chill out and DPS our way through this without even having to try. Any mistakes can still make you dead. Make you dead. We'll just stick with that. So that, amongst some other things that we're not going to mention because it'll just drag it out way too long. However, the very final thing, and probably one of the biggest, most important things for Karapak Hard Mode staying in the game, is the Fractured Staff of Armadyl. Where would I be without my Staff of Armadyl today? Where would I be? Using a Staff of Slithscape? Who wants to use a Staff of Slithscape? This staff is too good. I love it. I love magic in this game. So, Karapak Hard Mode alone, bringing that staff into the game makes it absolutely worth keeping. Okay, boss number 2. What would boss number 2 be for me? Well, I think I would have to just keep Telos. And you guys may be thinking, wait, what? Telos? What? No, I expected other things. In fact, some people I've spoken to suggested other things as well, and it's not. That's just got to be Telos. The reason being is, Telos is a pain in my ass. I freaking love and hate this boss, But that's a good thing. The reason I hate it is because it will be forever a challenge. I will never probably reach 4K Enrage, and that's a good thing for me because I will always have something to work towards, right? If anything's going to last the longest for me to grind out in this game, it would be 4K Enrage Telos. I have been trying to push my Enrage on and off sometimes through the past, and it has always been fun as hell, but stressful as hell, and I've needed to take breaks away from it, and now I've kind of just stopped bothering because of the drop table there and stuff just isn't that great anymore. I mean, it's still a good boss for money, don't get me wrong, but personally, for me, I've just sort of let him drop off a little bit. I'm focusing on other things at the moment. But if I could only pick 3, Telos would absolutely be in those top 3 because of the fact that I will always have something to work towards. I will always have something to challenge me with, and he is so mechanically specific and so in-depth that it makes it a hell of a lot of fun for me. Not only that, of course, you would have access to all tier 92 style weapons. You would have melee, range, and magic available to yourself if you had this boss available, so that's always going to be important too. But overall, I have just always had a lot of enjoyment from this boss, even if I do get absolutely smacked into the ground when I'm trying to push Enrage at this point. But it is a challenge that I love to do, and I do understand the boss mechanically inside out. I just can't execute it. But I feel like also having Telos in the game, for me personally, has helped me improve at PvM so much. Like, it really has. Having to actually deal with timings and figure out mechanics and just dealing with stuff on the fly. When you do something wrong at Telos, it can mean you are about to die. But if you react quick enough, you can tend to usually do something to keep yourself alive, whether that's quickly use a specific defensive ability, or make sure you've got your like vitality potion or something along those lines where you can either chuck in a stun or anything to keep yourself alive. This boss has plenty of that sort of thing in it, and personally I feel like overall Telos has probably made me a better PvMer than most of the bosses in the game, so I wouldn't want to lose that, and I just couldn't not include this boss. It's probably one of my favorite bosses, if not like favorite of all time. May not be my current favorite boss, but I think of all time, it has to be number 1. That leaves us with one boss left. I wonder if anyone watching this who watched most of my videos, or any of them really, knows what I'm going to say. I am pretty sure some of you have called this one. It's going to be ED1. Now, there is a reason why it's going to be ED1, and it's not just because, hey, look at the price of these scales, they're amazing. It's kind of that, but it's not just that, okay, guys? It's not just that, okay? Well, one, you gotta have an elite dungeon in there. You just have to. Like, if you don't have an elite dungeon, everything's gonna feel the same. Elite dungeons are completely different. You are running through the whole thing, and you've got positioning when you're running through, and speed, and you can challenge yourself on how fast you can get the run done, and it just feels a lot different. You're getting like 2 or 3 kills an hour rather than getting yourself like 15, 20 kills an hour, because all you're doing is killing the boss, banking. You've got a run to actually go through. I really having the bosses sort of split up and broken apart by the actual run and stuff, even though a lot of people might just think that the run itself is just boring and inconvenience and you wish you could just kill the bosses over and over again. Personally, I prefer elite dungeons, and I do a lot of them because I like the little break between them. I feel like I can chill out a little bit once I've killed the boss and I can run to the next one. I can take it chill, I can take it casual. These are also great for streaming as well. When I'm streaming, elite dungeons are like the best because I can read chat so easily, so comfortably, and get involved and talk to you guys as we're running along, and we're still making good progress and still having that chance at the end. Every, what, like 15 to 20 minutes, there's that chance of, am I going to strike it rich, rather than just recycling the same kill every 3 to 5 minutes and seeing if eventually I get rich. It's like a big finale at the end. You get all the way to the end of the dungeon, and finally you're like, right, are we finally going to get the big drop? Are we going to get ourselves our 200 scales? Are we going to get ourselves 50 scales? And that's another great thing about ED1, right? You never know how many you're going to get. There's such a big difference. Sometimes you will get yourself 4 scales and you'll be disappointed. But then the next time you could go back and you can get yourself 200 scales and be like, whoa, what the frick, that's huge. And then the next time, it never gets old. You will always be like, right, how many scales are we going to get? We did 100 ED1 runs for a video or a video series in the past, and people didn't get bored of it because it was always the same sort of thing at the end of, how many scales are you going to get this time? If I did this with, like, I don't know, Raksha, for example, it would just be, did you get a drop? Did you get a drop? Did you get the drop? And it just wouldn't be quite as good. You would eventually just switch off until you see the drop and you're like, oh, you got it finally. Whereas this one, it's like, you've always got that excitement. You're always going to get something, and there's always a good chance that it's going to be something good as well. So every single time you get to that boss, you're like, come on, be good, be good, be good. It's going to give me something, but is it going to be good? And it's an instant payout too. Now, the final reason I would pick ED1 as my third boss is there's so many times in this game where I find myself absolutely skint. I will have nearly no money left. I don't understand why half the time I've just wasted it on stupid things. Maybe I bought myself a nice new override that I'll never use, but I've also keepsaked it using bonds. So I'm skint, I have no money, or I decided I need overloads. So rather than checking how much money I have and be able to afford overloads, I just decided I'm going to do 1,000 and have no money left at the end of it. So ED1 is great for making sure that when I've run out of money, I can just do one run and I'm up and running again. I can do 1 hour of this boss and I usually end up with about 50 mil, and I've always got that money instantly. There's no, you have to get through to the end to make sure you get an ECB piece of like after 100 kill count. You know for sure if you do one run, you're going to have some money and you'll be okay to continue on with supplies and stuff. So ED1's a great fallback and I love it, and I think this dungeon's absolutely ace, and if they ever changed it or got rid of it, I would be absolutely gutted. It wouldn't be good. But for me, ED1 is absolutely in my top 3. Okay, so those were my top 3 bosses, or the 3 bosses that I would keep if you could only have 3 bosses in the game. Let me know, like I say in the comments, about which 3 bosses you would keep, and leave a little bit of an explanation why, or you can go crazy and write a big sort of essay and I will still read that as well. I'll have a skim through it and I will reply to as many of you guys as possible. It should be an interesting topic. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know that so many of you watching are going to have such different bosses to choose from, and that's why I sort of thought this would be so interesting and finding out what the reasoning for that would be. Anyway, if you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you so much to the channel members who support the channel that little bit extra each and every month. I really do appreciate it. Your names will have been on screen right now, of course. If anyone else is interested in joining them, click the join button by the sub button. You can see what perks you do get. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.